What the heck? Fuck you, Stream Deck. I was talking this entire time, and my Stream Deck was not picking up that I was talking. So stupid. Anyway, I was saying that I sorry for not being on yesterday. I knew I was going to be a little too busy to actually stream, and by the time I was done doing gardening, I just couldn't do it anymore. So, yeah. And Mike, you should eat breakfast. That's like the best and most important meal of the day. So, yeah. I would highly suggest that you do that. I am going to start by... Hey, what's up, Mr. Habs and Boosh Snakes? I don't do midnight snacking because I have really bad acid reflux. So if I were to eat during the day or during the middle of the night, I end up very, very sick, which is not fun in any way, shape, or form. You're all tired in the morning? Well, so am I. I just have to, like, deal with it, unfortunately. But I wanted to pull up something very quickly before I head in, and I am currently running around with... Yeah, I like coffee. I'm drinking a Starbucks right now because it was just a quicker thing to do. I made a Patreon last week, I think. Sometime last week, I don't remember when. And I just wanted to show off the perks just for shits and giggles sake. We have the typical $1 tier. There's the typical stuff. You get access to all my content. I obviously shout you out on Patreon or on streams. And in this case, because we only have one, I only have one at the moment, thank you to Jessica for being my only patron. I greatly appreciate that. Hey, what's up, Debbie? The next tier is a little bit more. You get to pick a topic for whatever, like a video or a stream. And in this case, Jessica picked a movie for me to do for the kind of like the 80s Carnage series. It's more of a more recent movie, but I'm still gonna cover it in that same style. The next one up, you get to pick not only a topic for a video or one of these streams, the Halls of Horror streams, you get to pick a game that I play. I prefer it was a horror game, but if somebody wants to go ahead and put another kind of game out there, I will play it. I'm more than happy to. And the fun one, I think, is hopefully worth it. You get to not only pick a topic for a video, movie that I do, or video or stream I do. You not only get to pick a game that I play, but you have the option, if you want, to come on a stream or be a co-host in a movie or video as well. So that's everything that I've got for that stuff, but that's the Patreon. Nobody's obligated to do anything with that. So don't worry about that. And thank you, Devin. I appreciate it. Hey, what's up, Courtney? How you doing? And Stacy's here as well. Look at this. All the cool peoples be here. I'm very happy about that. So, today I decided I was going to pick something a little bit different and go over the Danvers State Hospital, or if you want to be more honest, Danvers State Asylum. Yeah, this is great. And just like the thumbnail says, they've turned this place into a fucking apartment complex. Are you kidding? Oh, I appreciate it, Courtney. And thank you for pimping everything out again, Devin. That's always very much appreciated. This was actually suggested to me by my sister-in-law's boyfriend when I mentioned that I wanted to do something that had to do with asylums and hauntings. And he suggested this, so I went and picked that up, and I'm covering it now, obviously. This is a state hospital that has a very sordid past, just like most mental institutions of that time period. Because as you know, in the US and most Western countries, asylums don't exist anymore. And that's purely because they did not treat mental illnesses as we do today. They pretty much, you could say, used anybody that was of the mentally ill, in order to make, like, lab rats. They were basically lab rats is what they were. And a lot of them died from starvation and just horrid living conditions. This particular one is in Boston, Massachusetts, and was built in, it looks like, 1873. But let's go to the timeline and use that for sure. Okay, 1874 this was built. The first patient was admitted in 1878. And you can already tell it says hydrotherapy, which is obviously the proof of the lab rat stuff. And I'm not a big fan of that thing. This currently is no longer, like I said, a hospital. It is literally an apartment complex. You've turned what is arguably one of the most haunted places into an apartment complex. You asking for trouble there, homie. So first they started with the hydrotherapy, and then it gets worse around 1946. Oh, I'd never move into it either. Hell no. I know exactly how bad that's gonna be. In 1946, they started doing insulin coma therapy. Hey, what's up, Murder Paula? Welcome. And right above that, hospitals started to suffer from severe overcrowding and lack of funding. You can imagine how bad that is. Cleansing, yeah, they're gonna have to do a lot of cleansing if they can even cleanse it completely. That's a big fucking if. Marie Walter became a patient in 1947. That's somebody I'm gonna cover in a little bit. I'm gonna address that a little later, Mike, because you're gonna get a kick out of something that went down with this particular place before it turned into an apartment complex. First lobotomy was in 1948, and we're very familiar with every freaking movie or anything like that. That lobotomies were performed a lot, like in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. What is it called? Clockwork Orange, that sort of thing. Ooh, not good. Not good. Then they get into the fun electroshock therapy. Ooh. Yeah. Insulin coma therapy, yep. Like I said, they're lab rats. They didn't care They didn't care about their patients. They were a detriment to society in their serious opinion. And you see that kind of thing in movies. You see it in television shows like American Horror Story. What was it? Asylum? Something like, I don't remember exactly what it is off the top of my head. My brain isn't completely awake yet. Coffee hasn't hit. And then we've got chlorpromazine treatment being used to treat schizophrenia and psychotic disorders. Why don't we go ahead and look at what exactly that is? Let's look at what exactly that is, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. It looks like it's still used. But I would highly doubt that that this was any good for anyone that had to deal with this stuff. I do not think at all. Yeah, Stacey, very spook. And imagine how many people have died in this place. Hundreds? Thousands? Hundreds of thousands? And after all of this bullshit, they finally start taking these down one by one in the 70s. Marie Balter. I don't know who that is. I thought that was the other thing. And then finally in 1991, it was completely closed. And any patients that were there were taken to another facility. So, look, oh, there you go. There it says right here. 2005, Avalon Bay purchases property from the state of Massachusetts for $18.1 million to be used as apartments and condominiums. That is the dumbest shit I have ever seen. Before we get into playing with all the fun shit, why don't we go ahead and take a look at what this looks like? Oh, that's not, I don't want full screen. There we go. You can already see this place. This is all before it got turned into condominiums. It's fucking, this is creepy. I do not care how strong you are. How strong your stomach is. This shit is spooky. This is the inside of it. The dormitory. They still have pictures on the walls from back then. Holy shit. I haven't even looked at these yet, so this is all new to me. That, hairs on the back of my head, of my neck stand up. Oh, yeah. Exactly the same thing on my end right now. This is the textbook haunted site. Like, you can't. Kirkbride. That's I think that's where they moved him to, if I remember correctly. I'm getting bad vibes from these pictures. Oh yeah, Courtney, I am too. This does not bode well for anybody. I don't know why they would think it's a good idea. That I really don't like. That bothers me. That really bothers me. Like when chairs are like that. Dead bat. Oh, poor thing. Staircase. These are just ridiculous. Like, how... There's chairs again. I fucking hate chairs in these places. Graffiti. Yeah. When you know there's graffiti in there. Yeah. Like... Ooh. Creepy. I don't like it. Okay, so I think we've got enough of the interior of this place. Let me see if there's anything that's really creepy in here. No, I think that's pretty much, that's enough to show that that's pretty freaky. It's beautiful to look at in some ways. Like, that's gorgeous. But, inside is foreboding. I mean, I generally, even though it is very creepy, I love the gothic style of architecture, because it's gorgeous. This is though the exterior stuff. It obviously was pretty big if you look at at how it is, but it gets worse, guys. Oh yeah, the architecture is gorgeous, but it's gonna get worse because there are underground tunnels in this place. Yeah, there's underground tunnels underneath it. That already has me freaked out even more. How pretty it looks outside. Okay, that's really creepy. I don't like that. Stop. It's underground tunnels to probably the morgue, yeah. But there were a lot more tunnels that were found that they didn't realize were there. And it also gets worse. Just this is just the tip of, not the tip, maybe the middle of the iceberg here, how creepy this is. That I don't like at all. Mail home? What the fuck does that mean? Ah, I hate it. Oh, I hate it. Oh, I hate it. Oh, I hate it so much. It's so fucking creepy. So creepy. Like, blood samples? Holy shit. And now let's go to the piece de resistance of shit that's really freaky. It has its own cemetery. You heard me right. Oh yeah, there was definitely, yeah. But yeah, there's a cemetery that they found recently. Not recently, but when they were looking at this place, they found a cemetery. There's Marie Balter, the person that we're going to go over in a little bit. Her case is very, very important. But look, 273. We don't even know who these people are. They're just numbers. And then they have the people, I guess they have the names of the people as corresponding. I'm not totally sure, but like 326 already, 355, 426. Some of them, I guess this is the first person to die there. This Frank Lawrence guy, which is very sad. But if you have a fucking grave site, 577? Oh, Jeebus. Yeah, that's not bueno. Former patients. Oh, God. Yeah, that's... I don't like that at all. That's just asking for trouble. Oh. 807... Or is that 270? I think that's 270. I thought it said 870. I was gonna, like... I think partially cost reduction, and if I were to take a guess, probably because this came before the cremation stuff, maybe. I'm not sure. That, or if you want to get really conspiratorial, you could say that they had this cemetery to basically cover up the utilization of corpses for medical research. Because remember, when I was talking about H.H. Holmes last weekend, that happened a lot. You could make absolute bank off of corpses because it was so difficult at the time to find any kind of adequate resources for, like, oh, I don't know, medical schools, medical facilities to learn about how the human body works, that sort of thing. Yeah, they were in desperate need of bodies in the 1800s, 1900s, or early 1900s. So this does not surprise me completely. Does not completely surprise me whatsoever. So, autopsy methods. Oh, fun. We can go over that in a second. Nathaniel Bradley. Here's the architect, Nathaniel Bradley. Apparently this was made using the plans of Bradley's unbuilt Winthrop Asylum. So he's designed multiple asylums. Holy fuck. I'm not gonna really get into his, like, whole history because that's boring as fuck to me. But apparently he was a superintendent as well. Let's get into Barbara Balter. This poor lady. I can't begin to understand how much shit she went through. She was born into a family that was already abusive to begin with. Obviously, it says, unfortunately, her adoptive parents were abusive. She was born during the Great Depression to an alcoholic mother. So she not only had to deal with being born to somebody who can't take care of her, but then being adopted by people who just outright fucked her up. And because of all that, she got anxiety, panic disorder, psychotic depression, and schizophrenia, where she was placed on near-lethal doses of an experimental antipsychotic drug, which made everything worse. Thankfully, she was put on the right medication eventually, but that doesn't take back any of the stuff that's happened to her. I can't begin to imagine. I would think that they would probably done the whole insulin therapy on her. They probably did shock therapy, you name it. They probably did it, besides lobotomizing her, because obviously she wouldn't be able to write books like she did eventually. She ended up finally getting out in 1966. So she basically got 30-something years outside of that, thankfully, where she was, okay, psychologically okay to deal with this kind of stuff. She ended up getting a master's degree in Harvard. That's a big deal. After all the stuff she's gone through, she went to fucking Harvard and got a master's degree. Wow. And you gotta give it to her, because she ended up using everything she went through in order to help other people by making her own... She founded the Balter Institute. Basically, that was a patient-led idea of mental health care. So she basically put in stone, hey, this is how you're supposed to fucking treat people that are mentally ill. They are not trash. They are not lab rats. It's not okay. And she even went on to have obviously an autobiography called Nobody's Child that was made into a televised movie. So she is extremely important in the the history of mental asylums and is a testament to what these people went through and the heinous treatment they were. Yeah, I would agree, Courtney. Extraordinarily strong. I can't even, with being a person that has post-traumatic stress disorder with severe anxiety and depression, which she probably had as well. I can't imagine being able to go through all that and coming out the way she did. I can't even begin. But she did a lot of beautiful things for people and gave a voice to people who went through this bullshit. Now, I'm gonna read all this because this shit is telling. And before I do that, why don't we go ahead and look at the autopsy pictures that they have? And this is different cases. These are the kind of autopsies they did. And this is the kind of shit that they, sorry if you have a weak stomach, but this stuff is important to look at. They clearly abused these people, and I hate that shit. But let's get over this. Routine methods of the Danvers State Hospital Laboratory. Performance of an autopsy is dependent upon the consent of the relatives or nearest friend, except in case the body is unclaimed at the end of 3 days following death, when no consent is necessary. Yeah, it is a lot of damage. So you basically, when you died, your family had 3 days to claim your body, or else they do whatever the hell they want with it. Because of this law, many cases of great interest and importance are not autopsied. It has often been urged, and with justice, that there should be an autopsy of the body of any person who has been supported at state expense, if such is desired by the institution physicians. This would solve also the vexing problem of the interval between death and autopsy. Yeah, I agree. I hope they were dead, Mike, but I, unfortunately, would not be shocked if they weren't. I would not be shocked. Because we already know that they put these people into insulin comas, lobotomized them, put them on experimental medications that did God knows what to their bodies, and lobotomized them. A lobotomy takes place while you're awake, while you are still alive. It won't kill you, but it basically does. You're not even there anymore if you're lobotomized. You're not even a person at that point. And that's very, very sad. During the past year, consent for autopsy has been obtained in about 58% of the deaths of all bodies are removed from the ward to an ammonia process refrigerator as soon after death as may be possible. May as well be a zombie. Yeah, pretty much. You are a drooling, bliveling vegetable. You're just a walking corpse at that point. Whoever you were prior to the lobotomy is gone. Completely gone. The fixing fluids used at the autopsy are 3 in number. In Zenker's fluid are put pieces from each of the body organs and from 3 levels of the cord. And 10% formalin, we put pieces from all of the body organs and then remainder of the cord. When the brain is sectioned at the time of autopsy, pieces from certain different areas are fixed in 95% alcohol, Zenker's fluid, and formalin. So basically, they don't give really a shit about your body when they autopsy you. They care about looking at your brain. All of that is for the brain. All of it. The remainder of the brain, or the entire brain when sections are not made at the time of autopsy, is fixed in 10% formalin containing 0.6% sodium chloride. When the brain is preserved entire, a thread is passed through the carotid arteries, and another through the pia mater of each hemisphere just behind the corpus callosum. I'm not a doctor, so if I mispronounce this shit, sorry. These threads are long enough to bring up across the top of the brain jar after it is covered, and they're tied. The brain is thus suspended in a practically isotonic fluid base up and is fixed without any pressure distortion. This is literally what they were doing to the brain. If the brain is fixed in total, basically, it is allowed to harden for at least 6 months and preferably a year. It is then gone over again organically, and the original description checked up and amplified, if necessary. If it presents lesions of certain types, it is then photographed. So all this stuff was photographed because they found lesions or some sort of damage. They didn't care. And also keep in mind, there were always people in asylums that weren't even mentally ill. They weren't. Asylums were basically an excuse to get people that were trash, quote unquote trash, and basically just shipped off to die. If you were shipped off to an asylum, you're pretty much 99% of the time going to die up until a certain point in history. Yeah. Asylums are fucked. If there were time, it would be desirable to photograph all brains from certain classes of cases for a more intensive group study. See, it says right there. They don't have enough time to get everybody. They don't have enough time to look at everybody's brain and photograph it. At present, there is only time for cases with certain rather definite lesions. This is very telling. Even if it's doctor speak, it's very telling what was going on. In photography, we use a Cooper Hewitt mercury vapor arc lamp, which frees us from having to consider outside light conditions. So they probably did all this stuff in that underground shit, the underground passageways and rooms. I don't think really anything else in here. And is at all important. But yes. And then they get fucked. Because this is worse than prison, in my opinion. I think it's worse than prison. And then I think it's fun to look at it being just demolished. Fuck you, security. Oh, that makes me laugh. Oh, that's great. Like, you could see it just being torn down. I'll bet you that agitated the hell out of any spirits that are living. Yeah, there is a very special place for those kind of doctors. And that's something that's very unfortunate about science and medical history. A lot of what we know about the human body and how it works was unfortunately found through nefarious means. This is the only time I'm really going to mention something like this on my streams because it's a hot button topic and it pisses people off. It makes people very emotional. No matter how heinous it was, the stuff that was done during World War II in Nazi Germany significantly impacted what we know today about medical practices and the human body itself. It's unfortunate, but true. That does not excuse anything that happened. At all. It's fucked up. No matter how you put it. And it's even more fucked up that we have to basically own up to the fact that, yeah, that had a huge impact. It was a huge part. Yeah, war is actually advanced technology. It's very sad that that's the case. It's very sad, and it's very... it's very unfortunate. Oh! Look at this! This is one I'm reading, and I'm absolutely reading its entirety, because I'm not going to even... This is important if you want to learn about how fucked up these people were that ran this place. An excerpt of a patient abuse report, 1992. This is just an excerpt. In 1989, a day program reported to the DPPC that X, a patient at Danvers State Hospital, appeared at our program with serious injuries. These injuries consisted of a bruise to the right cheek, a bruise below the right eye, right side of the jaw, red and swollen, complaints of pain in right side of neck, left arm bruise on inner elbow, 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. Hey, what's up, boohoo? Yeah, they do. They probably do. A 1-inch bruise on the forearm, left leg bruised on inner aspect of knee. So the knee pit, basically. Left shin, small bruise, right leg bruised and slightly swelling in inner aspect of knee. 2-inch bruise on outer aspect of knee, left knee. 2-inch bruise on outer aspect of right knee, red area on right shin, and a dark red mark over left eyelid underbrow. The client stated that, while in restraints, he had been assaulted by a staff member at the hospital, first name A, last name unknown. Somebody that worked there basically beat the shit out of him while he couldn't defend himself. This is in 1989. Almost just a hair under 30 years ago. This stuff was still happening. It's disgusting. DPPC screened the case in and referred it to the Department of Mental Health for investigation in accordance with the provisions of MGLC 19C 4B. DMH investigated the case, concluded that abuse had occurred, and immediately terminated the staff person. It was confirmed that this happened. That this person, that X, was beaten the fuck out of while he can't defend himself. Fresh water, so no chemical reaction goes off. Yeah. That's probably... Yeah, because you can only imagine what would happen if there was a chemical reaction. Several months later, a DPP investigator received a phone call from a staff member at the same hospital. This person stated that the incident involving patient X was the third case of abuse by staff person A, and the 2 previous cases witnessed by senior staff at the hospital had not been reported to DPPC. So the same person that did this shit, beat the shit out of this guy while he was restrained, had done it to other people. 2 other people, in fact. And nobody said anything about it. Nobody said anything about it. Commission investigators examined DPPC case files and confirmed that no reports had been received on the previous cases. The DMH Office of Internal Affairs was notified by DPPC that DPPC would conduct an investigation of the matter. DMH Internal Affairs also conducted their own investigation. Yep. They tore a lot of these down. They got rid of the asylum. Any of the what do you want to call it? Any asylum in the West Coast, or not West Coast, in the Western society was basically terminated because of the stuff they found. What was in American Horror Story Asylum? Not far from the truth at all. It is very much factual how that shit happened. I'm not talking about like the supernatural portions of things. I'm talking about that ending portion where you see the main protagonist in the asylum years after she escaped, and you're seeing just feces everywhere. There's people being just absolutely abused beyond compare. There are dead bodies that are laying around that haven't been cleaned up. Yeah, that shit is real. Good morning, Squatchin'. How you doing, hun? The concept, there it is. That's the word I was looking for. The concept of an asylum was completely abolished in the 1990s for the most part because of this shit. A review of the DMH investigators' files and interviews with the DMH investigators revealed that, in fact, there had been 2 previous cases of abuse committed by the same abuser, Mr. A, on 2 other clients within weeks of the assault on patient X. Weeks. Both of these prior incidents had been witnessed by hospital staff. Witnesses to prior cases included direct care staff, nursing staff, and hospital administrator, none of whom reported as required. Yeah. They didn't care. They didn't care. DPPC investigators reviewed the full hospital case files, interviewed the initial DMH investigators assigned to the case, interviewed staff witnesses to all 3 events, reviewed patient records, reviewed staff personnel records, and reviewed hospital memos and other records regarding the incidents. As a result, the following sequence of events was determined, and this is what they found. Incident 1. Nurse D at Danvers State Hospital witnessed employee A escort a female patient to the quiet room. The patient L was not presenting difficulties. Basically, this guy had no reason to do what he did or take them aside for anything. Mr. A pushed Miss L into the quiet room from behind with both hands. Miss L fell to the floor. Nurse D characterized the incident as abuse and indicates that she spoke to A about the incident and that she wrote a verbal warning to A about unnecessary roughness. That's it? That's all you did? That I'm getting furious just reading this. I'm getting furious. A copy of the letter was sent to the assistant director of nurses. Neither Nurse D nor the assistant director of nursing reported the incident to DPPC or to other internal staff, nor is a complaint form filed out as required by DMH regulations. Just a verbal warning. It wasn't even reported otherwise, like it was supposed to be. Yep, they ran on it. They knew. They didn't care. Who the fuck? Something's going on Patreon. Oh my gosh, Debbie. Thank you very much for becoming a patron. I'm very much appreciative. Thank you so much. I will get in touch with you about what you want done subject-wise for a stream or video. Just get in touch with me. You could probably do it on Twitter, in Twitter DMs, or in Discord, one of the 2. But let me know what you want me to go over, and I will make it happen. Yeah, 0 F's given, Courtney. Let's go to Incident 2, which was 3 weeks later. So close. 3 weeks after the first incident, Mr. A was assisting in the restraint of patient H. Mr. H was tied to a bed at the time of the incident. Mr. A was pumping forcefully on H's chest. The chief hospital supervisor, the top, a registered nurse, witnessed this and told Mr. A to stop. Mr. A did not stop until his hands were removed by the supervisor. This was also witnessed by another staff member, a mental health worker 3, which basically means that they are like a supervisor, and like it says, and supervisor on the unit. The chief hospital supervisor stated in his interview that he could not decide if this constituted abuse. Really? But later decided that it was and wrote up A. However, he did not report the incident to DPPC. You couldn't decide if it was abuse? You couldn't decide? You're fucking kidding me. That I can't. I'm baffled by this shit. And now we have a very detailed incident 3. This is the one that they got fucked over with Mr. X. And all this came out. According to the written complaint filed by a day program, this incident occurred in the evening on a ward porch. Client X and another patient were playing chess and were swearing at Mr. A. Mr. A then placed a help call, took off his glasses, pointed to the 2 patients, and said, "You guys, come here." The patients did not move. Mr. A then began throwing chairs and approaching the 2 patients. Yeah, Courtney, I'm baffled by the stupidity. Mr. A grabbed Client X around the neck, at which point X fell over a chair. Mr. A then swung a chair at X, hitting him in the right knee. A fight then ensued in which the other patient knocked Mr. A to the floor. Staff from other areas began to arrive and restrain the 2 clients involved in the altercation and other patients in the area. According to Mr. X, while he was restrained to the gurney, Mr. A was kneeling on his face. He was kneeling on his face. So basically, Mr. A, the shitbag, started this for no fucking reason. And the people that defended themselves, Mr. X, were abused like this for it. According to other staff involved in the restraint, it did not require an excessive amount of force from the 4 to 5 staff to restrain Mr. X. Another patient who was present at the time stated that Mr. A smashed her head into the floor in the process of trying to restrain her and sat on her head when she was restrained. There was no evidence of the statements that she required restraint. Another patient that was in that area literally got smashed on the ground for no fucking reason. Basically, nobody will believe you because you're insane. That's how it was, Courtney. These people were literally treated like dirt and dog shit. According to one staff who arrived at the scene, Mr. A was on top of the patient with his hands around the patient's neck and appeared to be applying excessive force and endangering the safety and welfare of the patient. Yeah, it's infuriating. And this happened all over the country and in other countries as well where mental institutions or asylums were located. Oh, there was a reason, a bad one. Nah, if it's a bad one, it doesn't matter. It doesn't constitute a reason at all. It doesn't. It's infuriating. This employee assumed that the person doing the choking was a patient and broke the chokehold because I saw the danger. Mr. A screamed and said, "I'm staff." So these people couldn't even tell who was working there and who was a fucking patient. Or, I'm sorry, prisoner. These people here were prisoners. I don't give a shit what you think. They are not patients. They are treated like prisoners. Period. Later in the incident, the second employee also witnessed Mr. A straddling a patient's leg, whose arms were already in restraints. Twist the patient's left foot in a clockwise direction to the point of almost snapping. I yelled at him to stop. The Changeling is definitely one of those movies that I've been looking at, Debbie. That one I've never seen, but it definitely rings a bell because it was a part of the In Search of Darkness series. They covered that in there. Mr. A then twisted the patient's other foot until the second employee again yelled at him to stop. So not only has he thrown somebody on the ground, tried to choke somebody, he also tried to break the ankles of this particular Third patient. Yeah. Miss G, a registered nurse and chief hospital supervisor responding to the help call, found Mr. X on his back in a gurney in 4-point restraint. Four or five MHWs were transferring the gurney to the corridor. Mr. X attempted to sit up, which was unable to do so because of the restraints. At that point, Miss G observed Mr. A jump into the air and land with his full body weight, knee first, on X's mid-sternum. Following that deliberate force, Mr. A once again lifted his knee and with harmful intent forced his knee down on X's chest in the mid-sternum area. In both instances, the force applied was severe enough to push Mr. X's back into the mattress. So he's being attacked while he's restrained. And we're finding out exactly how he was attacked. In an interview with DPPC investigators, Miss G described the incident. "I've never seen anything like it. It was disgusting to see. Terrible." But you didn't do anything about it. Miss G did not report this incident to DPPC. You were disgusted by it, but you didn't say anything. Just shows the character of these people. Two other staff involved in the incident signed statements that they saw no abuse. Mr. A left work that evening saying that his wrist had been injured in the incident. Mr. A was not allowed to return to work and was terminated. All of the staff involved in all three incidents are required by law to report abuse to the DPPC. All the staff involved are required by DMH regulations to file complaints whenever an illegal, dangerous, or inhumane incident or condition occurs. Oh, she probably was. She probably was Big Oops. That's the whole thing. You do not care until you are possibly in trouble. Yeah. None of the staff involved. I already went over that. Some staff did report the matter to their supervisors. If the first incident of abuse had been reported to the DPPC, an immediate investigation would have resulted, and the fact of an investigation would have possibly prevented the other two incidents from occurring due to the scrutiny and protective actions which an investigation would have brought. Had the second incident been reported, it is possible that the third could have been prevented. However, it was not until Client X arrived at an outside day program that an employee of that program acted appropriately, notifying the DPPC and filing a complaint with the hospital. Hospital negligence resulted in this insane incident. They literally could have prevented this from happening, but they didn't. Because they didn't care. I can't. This pisses me off. The DMH Office for Human Rights had prepared a videotape describing employee report requirements for abuse and other human rights violations. This tape was shown extensively to staff at Danvers State Hospital. In an interview with DPPC investigators, the staff witnessing the events indicated that at the time of the incidents, they did not know that they should have reported the matter to the DPPC. Liars. Fucking liars. However, according to Danvers State Hospital personnel records obtained by DPPC investigators, the list of individuals recorded as having viewed the tape regarding DPPC indicates 2 of the witnesses to the abuse incidents involving Client X. They knew. Oh, they definitely knew. They just didn't care. 2 of the witnesses are listed as having attended training on incident reporting. Two other witnesses are listed as to having attended orientation training, which, according to staff interviewed, contained abuse reporting requirements. Thus, records show that at least 5 of the witnesses to the abuse of Client X by Mr. A had, in fact, received formalized training regarding their reporting responsibilities, including DPPC reporting. Exactly. She was more worried about herself than anybody else. And this isn't one person. This is a systematic fuck up. This is a systemic fuck up. They literally did not care enough to follow guidelines in which they knew they needed to follow. They knew how to handle the situation. They knew they were supposed to report it. People reported it to supervisors. Some people did care, apparently. But nobody in charge cared enough. DPP staff began investigating the failure to report matter at Danvers State Hospital soon after learning the extent of the abuse of Mr. X. Approximately 2 weeks later, at the direction of the Danvers State Hospital chief operating officer at the time, a memo was issued to all hospital staff, which described in detail each employee's obligations to report abuse to DPPC and to Elder Affairs for patients age 60 and over. That could be a reason, but that doesn't matter. You're gonna look bad. You look like shit, regardless. At the time of the conclusion of the DPPC investigation into failure to report at Danvers State Hospital, DPPC investigators interviewed the then Chief Operating Officer. The COO stated that the staff members who were involved and who failed to report abuse had been the subject of various disciplinary actions, including suspensions without pay. That tells you everything. The COO stated that the staff members who were involved and who failed to report abuse had been the subject of various disciplinary actions, including suspension without pay. They knew. They knew these people were shit. He also stated that since the DPPC investigation began, staff were much more vigilant about their duty to report abuse. So it took this much shit to get people to actually do their fucking job. This was confirmed by a marked increase in the number of reports received by the DPPC from that staff hospital. From that state hospital. Yeah. Regardless of your reasoning, you will lose more. You will lose more because of this shit. There's more damage done because of not reporting it. Period. The DPPC review of this matter notes the high quality of the DMH investigators into these cases when finally reported, as well as the fact that DMH investigated the failures of the staff to report. Yeah, bunch of monsters. Absolutely. I think monsters is putting it lightly. The commission further notes the exemplary actions of the Danvers State Hospital Chief Operating Officer to remedy the problem after the failures to report were revealed. I wouldn't have commended him. I wouldn't. Oh, I would have too. That is just a taste of the shit that happened. That's just a taste. Now that we're done with the basic shit for this, let's get into the fun. Let's get into the fun, why don't we? Let's see. Don't need that. Fright Find. Let's fuck around with that. Oh, fun. That's where it's at on the map. We already know about this stuff. Let's talk about this part here. The outer fringe locations of the housing buildings on each side were reserved for the most hostile and violent patients. Slated with 500 beds to house people, Over the decades, this number grew to 2,000. That's 4 times the amount of people that it was built to hold. 4 times. With such a large population of increasing diverse patients with severe mental, physical, and emotional problems, it comes as no surprise that areas of the asylum eventually became haunted. Of course. Of course. They may have. I don't know. Is it haunted? Yes. Yes. Absolutely haunted. And this exemplifies exactly what I've been talking about. Greatly outnumbered and already poor in medical knowledge and technology for the time, asylum administrators turned to the use of lobotomies to quell the out-of-control patients. The medical care was while already poor, was even worse for those who were given lobotomies, and as a result, a substantial number died. They stopped caring for these people. But for a group of patients that died, more were added to the hospital to the point that the structure served as a revolving door for sure death. As the years passed, sanitary conditions deteriorated, and also electroshock therapy was made common, so this only ramped up the volatile situation. This is the prevailing theory, coupled with the geographical tie to Salem, as to why the asylum is haunted. Yeah. I need to use the bathroom really quick, so I will be back. What do I want to do? What do I want to leave you guys with while I'm gone? Let's play some music. Yeah. I do have a video for you guys at the end of this to show you guys for funsies. Let's do that. I will be right back. I'm back. Let me see, what did I miss? A lot of ghost hunting shows were there. Yep. Yeah, definitely were. Yeah, I grew up watching Ghost Adventures as well. A dude trying out an inflatable wolf suit. I'm sorry, Deb. I'm sorry, Debbie. Well, I'm glad you find me interesting. That's nice to know. I try to be as interesting as possible. Okay. Here is some proof or somebody's account of this actually being haunted. George Richards, a hospital administrator in the late 1940s and early 1950s, lived on the premises with his wife and 3 kids. One of his kids was one of the only people to ever step forward and verify that a ghost was seen in the administrator's quarters. A child of somebody who lived there for 20 years, maybe? Or 10s plus years, had seen a ghost. In the quarters where she lived with her family as a child, she had memories of playing in the attic with her brother and sister. However, the attic soon became off limits that were self-imposed after seeing the spirit of an elderly woman in the corner of the dark attic, scowling at her and her siblings. It was not the only encounter with this particular apparition, and she claimed that she was awoken several times in the night by the same scowling spirit as it would slowly pull the covers off of her bed. Holy shit. And here's the mention of the ghost investigator stuff. Check out BTS of old horror movies. I don't know what that means, but probably is interesting. Alright, so many groups started off doing walkthroughs to the abandoned asylum. We're gonna do a walkthrough, we're gonna look at it. Oh, that sounds extremely terrifying. Almost instantly, the audible cries and moans of spirits said to be haunting the asylum are quite numerous. Electronic voice phenomenon, EVPs, is something that has captured and occurring at a fairly high level. Among the more chilling EVPs captured a spirit saying, "I live here and I am warning you." Ooh. Oh, fuck me. Here you go. Only near the closing of the asylum was it discovered that to have small underground tunnels connecting the buildings. Historian dates these tunnels to the original construction of the hospital, meaning they were put in under the direction of the asylum first administrator, who was notorious when he did these things. I don't fuck with EVPs. Nope. No. His tunnels have thought to have been constructed so as to keep the more violent patients completely out of sight. There you go. That answers the question of why those tunnels are there. Thus giving the asylum's upper levels a more sedated and dignified look, and preached to his infamous Kirkbride plan that he always referred as a special apparatus for the care of lunacy. Apparently, he's been seen floating around those tunnels, too. Fun. Oh, and here comes the fun of the apartments thing. Yeah, I'll talk about that in 1 second. A series of connecting buildings were torn down, obviously, and made into condo apartments. Not all the buildings were totally demolished, and those underground tunnels prevent this to a degree. Outback behind the grounds of the asylum is the asylum's ceremony, which with such sacred grounds, the developers have not constructed anything new on the part of the land, so they ain't touching that area. But you're still gonna get shit. People who live in the apartments now claim to hear moans and screams at night, theorized to be from spirits still tied to the land. Of course. Many a Danvers police officer has responded to complaints of the terrifying noises at night, only to find a desolate and empty lot. Oh no, I'm glad you got excited, because I thought that was interesting too. But at night after night, the screams are said to remain. Fuck. Alright, here's session 9. So, prior to most of the hospital being demolished, this movie was filmed on site. On site. Even better is this is a psychological horror, which is perfect with this kind of shit. And the story, basically, a work crew is assigned to remove asbestos from an abandoned mental institution. And people start going missing, and people hear voices. When asked about filming Session 9 at the Danvers State Hospital, David Caruso said, "It was a place you never got comfortable in. It wasn't like day 3 and we were throwing water balloons because it was so much fun to be there. It was always scary. You can really feel the pain of the people that went through Danvers. It's a rough environment. It's not fun. It's on the film. They didn't have to dress any sets or anything. All of that stuff was sitting there. The federal government walked away from it about 30 years ago. It was a terrifying location." So even the person that directed this film, and probably the people that were acting in it and worked it, were terrified of this place. Terrified of this place. I can't say anything else. I can't say anything else. This place, there's no doubt this place is haunted. No doubt in my mind whatsoever. There's no way with how much shit is going on. You're watching it ASAP? Yeah, I haven't seen it. I'm probably going to watch it myself. It seems really interesting, especially with the location. So everything is pretty much really authentic, which is great. Now I'm going to end this all with a tour of the inside of the basement. Just for fucks and giggles. Let's begin. This is creepy. That's obviously an autopsy area, because there's so much, like, autopsy equipment everywhere. This place is just fucking crazy. Water everywhere, obviously. Water damage from pipes that have exploded, probably. Let's see if we can find any ghosts. I hate how quiet it is. Just that droning in the background. I hate that. I hate it so much. That says a lot. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is just the basement. This place is creepy as fuck. Absolutely creepy as fuck. Like, I can't imagine being there. I would be shivering and shitting my pants. I would be shitting my pants just being in this area. I don't know how people... Oh, wait, was that a ghost orb? Was that an orb? Yep, that was an orb. Let's go back and see where that pops up. Okay. There it is right there. Either that's water or it's an orb. I'm thinking it's an orb because it just disappears. Silent Hill? Yep. I can see it. Well, we already got a ghost orb. Probably. Camera malfunctioning, that's also something that happens with supernatural phenomena. Phenomena. Do-do-do-do-do. Phenomena. Do-do-do-do. Broken glass everywhere. This is so creepy. Yeah, Phasmophobia is definitely... Yeah, this definitely reminds me of that. And it's a good game. I love that game. I always get wrecked, though. At least lately I do. But this is... I'm not sure if all those little, like, bright spots are tricks of the light or if they're orbs, but... There's a lot of them. Very creepy. Very, very creepy. I would not want to be there at all. I wouldn't go with the group either. Oh no. Not happening. Okay, what were you trying to do with that, buddy? I'm pretty sure they are orbs. They look like orbs. They don't look like tricks of the light. Oh! Thingies! There are more thingies. They're everywhere, man. This place is absolutely just riddled with that shit. There's no way it can't be. I don't know what he's looking at. Yeah. But that is basically Danvers in a nutshell. Very creepy. And because that was, like, so interesting, I absolutely am going to have to go do more of these. I'm gonna have to do more of these kind of things. Because there are so many asylums I could go over. I probably will. But for now, I am going to hop out, and maybe tonight I will do some streaming of gaming. I don't know if I'll do game streaming tonight. We'll see. But thank you guys for hopping in. Thank you for 10 likes already, which is fantastic. Thank you to both Debbie and Jessica for being patrons. And you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and sweet nightmares.